Whoever controls the food controls the people. Food insecurity has always been a thing, and it's about to get worse. What can you do to keep your pantry stocked and your family fed? Listen to find out. Hi, it's the Urban Lady Prepper. I help single moms and solo women with practical emergency preparedness. But of course, all are welcome to be better prepared for whatever happens next. Food insecurity remains a challenge that impacts countless communities, with too many people wondering where their next meal is coming from. This issue extends beyond just empty plates. It also affects mental well being and social stability, creating a cycle that seems impossible to break. For many of us, food is something we can easily pay for, and even when we have to cut back, we're cutting back on the extras such as takeout or home delivery. We may even begin brown bagging a lunch. But for the most part, we don't worry about not eating, about not having food to eat at all. That's always been a level of poverty many of us couldn't fathom and have been fortunate enough not to experience, especially if we're working. However, hunger is a growing issue in America. In 2020, the year of the pandemic, almost 11% of the U.S. population did not have enough food to meet their needs. In 2022, 12.8% of households did not have enough food to meet their needs. In 2023, 13.5% of American households did not have enough food to meet their needs. In 2025, with the cost of food rising dramatically due to several factors, it's not a stretch to believe that the percentage will increase again. And just like food prices, those percentages are not likely to go down. As this planet continues to circle the drain and aliens treat us as the most ratchet reality show in the universe, we are rapidly heading into a situation where those of us who have always had food and had choices as far as the food we got to eat may soon be making sacrifices we never thought we'd make. If you've been following me and listening to my podcasts and reading my blogs, food and water have always intersected through both. Whether it was about stockpiling for emergencies or how solar farms are replacing farms, many factors affect our food supply, and 99% are entirely out of our control. If we aren't more proactive, we will end up with food we can barely afford, filled with whatever they want to feed us. The USDA defines food security as access by all people at all times to enough food for an active, healthy life. It's clear that with the current food crisis, food deserts, and the possible loss of programs like SNAP, food insecurity, which has always been a thing, will become more of a thing. So, what can we do to be more in control and more food secure? I believe the first step is understanding that, for the most part, the powers that be aren't concerned about whether or not we're fed and healthy, but that we're generating profits. Universal health care would not be such a hot button issue if they were concerned about our health. It should be obvious that a healthy population drives a strong economy, but that means a thriving underclass. And it seems that many of the 1% can't enjoy their money unless they can watch the 99% suffer in some way. So, we must stop expecting the government to keep the programs many of us has used to supplement our income and put food on the table. They either don't care or are hamstrung by other politicians whose incomes are bolstered by the very companies that are poisoning our land, water, and yes, our food. Poor constituents can't compete with wealthy donors. Once you have this understanding, it becomes clear that we need to become more self-sufficient. We also need to support each other and be willing to find ways to network and barter food and other necessities to keep our community strong. Where to start? Well, small actions can make a difference in your household's food security. Detox from takeout. We spend a lot of money on takeout and items from convenience stores. These items are more expensive and tend to be less nutritious, have suspect ingredients, and the freshness may be questionable. If you need a guide on how to lessen your dependence on takeout meals, check out my article, Nurturing Your Inner Chef, How to Detox from Takeout on my website, urbanladyprepper.com. Support your local farmers. Buying from farmers markets and community-supported agriculture programs helps build sustainable and local food systems. The new tariffs will impact our farmers significantly, so any support we can give them helps them and benefits us by having access to fresh food. Take advantage of coupons, BOGOs, and other deals. The more food you stockpile now, the less you'll worry about buying and paying more for it later. You'll also be better prepared for an emergency if you can't make it to the store or a disaster leaves the shelves bare. Buy in bulk. If you know someone with a membership to a club like Costco, ask if you can tag along and grab some bulk items, or team up with a friend and split the membership cost. Groupon usually offers discounts for memberships to such stores. This is a good way to stock up on canned goods and other pantry items and get more bang for your buck. Buying in bulk may mean taking the time to portion out meals, but the money you save will be worth it, and you'll spend less time and gas going back and forth to the store. See if there's a local meat farm that will offer deals. I used to get a box of random cuts of meat for one price from Watson Farms in South Carolina. While these were sometimes the less sexy cuts, I saved money by working with whatever they gave me. Not only was I saving money, but it made me a better cook. But you must determine if what you're getting justifies what they're charging. This is where availability versus better quality is a factor, or exchange other protein-rich foods for meat in some of your meals. Expand your palate. Experiment with different kinds and cuts of meat. Try less popular fish and other food items. Even as things become more limited and expensive, people will still gravitate towards what they're familiar with. You may find lower costs and less competition if you've already developed a taste for less popular items. We're not at the point where people will fight over chicken hearts and beef liver, so I'm golden. Don't at me. I love that stuff. Reduce food waste. You're not just throwing food out, you're throwing away money. Most of the time, we didn't eat the leftovers within 4 days or stored it properly in the first place. Try to make no more than you could eat in one sitting unless you intend to have the leftovers for the following day. If you know you won't want the same thing the next night, then freeze it so it'll be ready next time you want it, rather than have it become a science experiment in the back of your fridge. Plan meals, store food properly, and compost food scraps, if not for your garden, for a neighbor who has one, or for the community garden. Of course, you can grow your own food. Even with limited space, anything that you can grow increases your food security. You can also barter your surplus or share with others in need. You don't have to be a great cook to make certain things you used to buy. You can make certain cheeses at home, like mozzarella. You can bake your bread. It's not hard. So many online recipes and YouTube videos show you how to cook, bake, or make things you would typically pay for. Not only are you saving money, but it's also a bonding experience with your family and a confidence builder. When I had chickens and getting fresh eggs every day, eating food from my garden, baking my bread, and making my own sweets and dog biscuits, you couldn't tell me shit. Knowing I could feed my family and animals without overly relying on a store was empowering. A step up would be to start a community garden. Many urban areas deemed food deserts were successful in starting community gardens. Community gardening is an innovative way to combat food insecurity while building local self-reliance. These gardens provide fresh produce and foster community spirit. They empower individuals by offering a hands-on approach to food production and serve as educational hubs where people learn about sustainable agriculture and healthier eating habits. Schools and local organizations can partner to create gardens that serve as both learning tools and food sources. By transforming vacant lots into thriving gardens, communities can take a proactive step towards food security while nurturing a connection to nature and getting to know your neighbors. If you've been gardening on your own or are not ready or able to start a community garden, join a couple of neighbors or friends to work on a garden together and share the maintenance responsibility and the harvest. If you live in a rural community, you're fortunate enough to have more land and farm access where you can do business directly with the growers. Do take advantage of this. Farm co-ops are also an option. For a set amount, you're guaranteed a fixed portion of a season's harvest. If you can't have a garden, this is another way to get fresh produce, not compromise your diet, or rely on whatever is in the store. Find your local food bank. Food banks are pivotal in redistributing surpluses as a safety net for families and individuals. Don't let pride get in the way of using this vital resource if you need to. They depend on community support through donations and volunteers, so if you're in the position to do either, you're helping yourself and others address food insecurity on a personal and community level while lessening food waste. Engaging with local food banks helps not only to provide meals, but also to foster a sense of community and resilience. We have to advocate for food access. Advocacy is a powerful tool in the fight against food insecurity. It involves pushing for policy changes and empowering community leaders to make a difference locally and nationally. It may seem like an uphill battle, but if even small victories mean children get to eat, the effort is worth it. With advocacy, we can work to create systemic change that ensures everyone has access to nutritious food. Work with your community leaders to contact elected officials and push policies addressing food insecurity to make needed changes. If we really think about it, maybe hunger in America isn't so difficult to understand. Many basic human needs, such as access to food, water, and medical care, are not treated as rights, but as commodities. Two things happen when you make nutritious food inaccessible and less affordable. People go hungry, or the food they get is nutritionally lacking or contains ingredients they would not ingest if given a choice. As a result, children can develop physical, medical, and mental issues, and adults can face medical problems such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and higher death rates. Even worse, we've eaten ourselves into a corner. We've become dependent on others growing our food, picking it, packing it, and shipping it to our store, where we browse many items at our leisure. Food producers and marketing companies became geniuses at pumping our food full of artificiality that dulled our palates, but also made us crave those very things and want more than our hunger called for and filled our bodies with stuff it didn't need. Americans, in particular, have diets filled with entirely too much sugar, salt, and artificial and experimental things. And now we're at the point where we fight obesity, which brings about health issues, which brings about medical care, which is becoming increasingly harder to find and afford. It's not uncommon to have that aunt that has diabetes or that uncle who had a triple bypass. It's pretty well known at this point that there are ingredients in American products that are not in the same product in other countries because those ingredients are banned there. We have put ourselves into a position where we have no control over where our food comes from, who handles it, and how it's affecting our ability to make better choices for our health. So, for the 1 in 5 children who are starving in this country, there are many of us whose diet is literally killing us. As a society, we are being increasingly pressed into accepting abnormality and browbeaten with such insanity that we'd rather just ignore it all. And while we try to navigate this, we've watched a large portion of our population that picked and processed our food be deported, farmlands be replaced by solar panels or sold for housing, farmlands bought by foreign countries, and when they're not being bought by foreign countries, being bought by billionaires. Add to that extreme weather that has damaged or decimated crops, supply chain issues brought about by drought and war, tariffs, and farming that focuses on only one crop instead of several. Our choices have become limited and more expensive. While some of it is happenstance, for those with means, the only way to replace those no longer in the fields and have the populace accept the unacceptable, such as lower wages and child labor, is to keep us hungry. If you think I'm exaggerating or fear-mongering, let me give you an example of how the upper crust feels about the rest of us. In 2020, the star of Bar Rescue, John Taffer, said in an interview, quote, "I have a friend in the military who trains military dogs, and they only feed a military dog at night because a hungry dog is an obedient dog. Well, if we are not causing people to be hungry to work, then we're providing them with all the meals they need sitting at home." This statement, which he later apologized for, underscores the mentality of those with means about those who often have to go without. While the context was about the stimulus checks during the pandemic, the essential point that hungry people will be obedient still resonates and is even more relevant now as SNAP benefits and other government aid are on the chopping block. And the people who are the hardest hit are single mothers, especially those of color. But make no mistake, hunger is prevalent among all racial groups in both urban and rural areas. The same people who thought that Obamacare was not the same as the Affordable Care Act are also finding out that their SNAP and WIC benefits are no different than the SNAP and WIC benefits of that single mother of color in the city. Hunger knows no color. The same government that's willing to starve the folks in the inner city is the same one that is willing to starve the ones out in the country. No favoritism will be shown. If you haven't recognized that by now, your awakening will be ruder than it should be. There's no easy solution for food insecurity, But if we are to make it through whatever new disasters loom in our future, we must be proactive about it for ourselves, those we care about, and our communities. The human cost is too high for us to ignore. Malnutrition, health issues, reduced productivity, hopelessness, and social instability will impact our communities and will be difficult to return from. So now is the time to make the most of our resources and work towards a more food secure future. Thanks for listening. Until next time, this is the Urban Lady Prepper signing off. I'm sure I've given you some things to think about as you go through the upcoming week. Has this episode resonated with you? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to click the link in the podcast description to get your free Essential Prepper checklist. While there, get one of my cool designs on a shirt, hat, mug, and more at my Redbubble store. Or you can always buy me a coffee or get a Jace case for your emergency medical needs. It helps support what I do, and I really appreciate it. Join me on the socials, especially on YouTube, where I'll be uploading videos for my blogs from urbanladyprepper.com. I appreciate your time with me. Stay safe, stay sharp, and be ready.